How do you manage to make such big ruckus every time I film? Hello fellow readers and readeresses, and welcome to the 12th installment of The Lord of the Reeds, the most precious TBR game. I can't believe it's been a whole year of me doing this game, and I have no idea how I was doing before that. Even though I've always been a mood reader, somehow now having this structure is so reassuring, and not having it before that is a little strange now that I look back on it. Still, there's nothing wrong with mood reading. I'm a big supporter. So, what is The Lord of the Reeds? It is a TBR game that I created inspired by The Lord of the Rings. If you'd like to learn more about the game, how it came to be, and its evolution, you can watch this playlist. But now let's go through the rules very quickly because they're very simple. How we pick books with this game is we roll 2 6-sided dice. We have 5 base rolls. So we roll the dice, we move across the map. I do it counterclockwise, you can do it any way you want. And then we land on a tile and select a book that corresponds to the prompt on this tile. Speaking of tiles, let's look at the different kinds that we have. The first of which is the empty tile. It doesn't have a prompt. So when we land on it, we're gonna pick one of the books in my bookshelf jar. This is a jar that contains all the books currently on my bookshelf that I haven't yet read. There's a lot of dust on this one. Next we have my 2024 TBR jar tile. When we land on it, we're gonna dip into the 2024 TBR jar, and if you're curious as to what is in this jar, you can watch my 2024 TBR over here. Next we have my series jar tile. When we land on it, we're gonna dip into my series spot, which contains all the series I am currently in the middle of reading. Then there's the prompt cards tile. When we land on it, we're gonna select one of my prompt cards. There are over 40 of those, and all of them have a book related prompt. Then we have all the genre tiles. We have fantasy, science fiction, graphic novel, manga, historical fiction, non-fiction, classics, mystery and thriller. I think those are all of them. Either way, they're right here. When we land on one of these, we're gonna select a book to correspond to the given genre. Then there's the +1 book tile. When we land on this one, we're gonna dip into the bookshelf jar, and we're gonna add an extra roll to this month's TBR. Then we have the bookstore tile. When we land on this one, we're gonna go either to the bookstore or to the library and pick a book to read from there. And last but definitely not least, we have my mission style. When we land on this one, we're gonna select one of the mission cards. Each of those has a special mission on it, upon completing of which I'm gonna unlock one of the characters from the Fellowship of the Reed. There were originally 9 of those, but I have only 4 left because I have already completed 5 and so far unlocked Gimli, Gandalf, Boromir, Merry, and Frodo. One last rule that we have is the Amanda rule, and I'm not gonna explain that. If you want to know more, you can watch, I think, installment 10 of the game, where if I roll doubles, I'm gonna add an extra roll to this month's TBR. One last thing, if you'd like to play The Lord of the Reeds yourself, I have provided both printable and digital version in the video description. And I think that's pretty much all. So now, let's get into roll number 1. And we have a 5. This is where we ended up last time, so let's go from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we landed on the prompt cards. Nice. I love the prompt cards, but I feel lately like the prompt cards don't really like me because I've been getting terrible prompts from them recently. Let's see. A collection of short stories. That is very unexpected, but I think I know I'm gonna pick. 1 second. Okay, I am done with my choice, and it took me exactly 20 seconds because I decided to go with Short Story Masterpieces with a Twist Ending Volume 2. This is a collection of classical short stories with twist endings, and I read Volume 1 last year at the end of the year, and I absolutely loved it. And while I wouldn't call every single story in Volume 1 masterpiece, all of them made me think, and I found them all very, very interesting, so I would highly recommend the first volume, and I am now gonna read Volume 2. Alright, that was a very good choice. Although I wasn't necessarily feeling like reading classics this month, I think it's still gonna be great. Let's go into roll number 2. And we have a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay, yay! Missions! Alright, we landed on the missions, which is super very cool. I'm a little worried because I had forgotten what kind of missions I had put on these cards, and the last 2 weren't the greatest, to be honest. But let's see what I've done here. Oh, this font is terrible. The truest aim. Pick a book with your eyes closed. Okay, so how I'm gonna do about this prompt is I'm gonna pick a few books that I would like to read in the month of February, and then I'm gonna ask my boyfriend to shuffle them for me, and then I'm gonna pick one with my eyes closed. Let's go ahead and do that. So these are the books that I decided to go with. We have Wrath by John Gwynne, which is the fourth and final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. We have The Girl in the Moon by Mark Lawrence, which is the third and final book in the Book of the Ice series. We have Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, which is the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy. We have Only Human by Sylvain Nouvel, which is the third and final book in the Themis Files series. And we have The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams, which is the second book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy. Now he's gonna mix them up and I'm gonna select. Also, all of these books are on my 2024 TBR. Is this here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You filming?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Bitter Twins. Okay, so as you saw, we selected The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. This is an adult high fantasy and the second book in the Winnowing Flames trilogy. I read the first one, The Ninth Reign, at the later part of last year, and I absolutely loved it. It made my best books or most surprising books of last year. I think it made my best books of last year, and it was absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. There's so much going on in the book. If you'd like to know more about it, I will recommend you watch my best books of 2023. And yeah, I'm super happy with this choice. I can't wait to read it. All right, 2 rolls down and 2 great choices, I gotta say. I'm really excited, especially for The Bitter Twins, because I've been wanting to pick it up since September last year. So let's go into roll number 3. And we have a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is awesome, because we landed on bookstore and I am planning on going to the library anyway. All right, we landed on bookstore, and as I mentioned earlier, this means that I can select a book either from the bookstore or from the library. But I am currently on a book buying ban, so there'll be no bookstore going for me. I'm gonna go to the library since I have to return a book from a few weeks ago anyway, so this is shaping out to be a very good situation for me. I'm gonna insert a clip right now as to what happened. It is a few days later, and I just realized that I never filmed the clip of actually picking the book in the library. So I'm gonna do it now. I picked The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. I'm gonna insert the English cover over here because this one is a Bulgarian one and it's kind of written on. This is the second series of Rick Riordan that is concerning mythology, and here they're actually following both Greek and Roman gods. I'm not gonna say anymore because I don't want to spoil you for anything. I have read this book many years ago and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it again. 3 rolls are done, and I'm sure I loved whatever book I picked from the library since it was my choice to pick it anyway. Now let's continue with roll number 4. And we have an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no. We landed on the +1 book tile. This was going way too well, so I'm not surprised that we landed on this accursed tile. Let's see what we're gonna get from the bookshelves. Please be good. This one. The Ember Blade. Oh, I think I know which book this is. One sec. The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding is an adult high fantasy, and that's pretty much all I know about it, besides the fact that a lot of people have said amazing things about this book and about this series in general, and I've been wanting to read it since at least 2 years, I think. So I am super happy that it came up. I kind of wish it wasn't in the month of February because I already have a lot of things going on for the month, and this is a very big book. But either way, I am very happy with this choice because it could have been way worse. So 4 rolls down, and this could have been our last roll, but unfortunately it's not. Let's go into roll number 5. And we have, oh come on, another 8. This is a joke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we landed on the 2024 TBR jar. I mean, this has got to be a joke, right? I mean, it's good that we're landing on the 2024 TBR jar, but why do we have to add an extra roll? This one. Howl's Moving Castle. Alright, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones is a very, very nice young adult series, the first book of which carries the same name as the series, and I read it, was it last year or the year before that? I don't remember anymore. But I loved the book. I thought it was very whimsical and very nice, and I think the second book is Castle in the Clouds or something like that. And I had it on my TBR once, but didn't manage to read it. I'm gonna try to read it this month. I don't own the book physically, but I'm gonna try to either borrow it from the library or see if I can purchase it as an ebook if worse comes to worse. I'm not necessarily in the mood for this book, to be honest with you. I'm kind of in more of an epic fantasy book mood, but it could be a nice palate cleanser because I have read quite a bit of epic fantasies recently. This goes back into the jar. Alright, we hit a bit of a tough spot by rolling a double, which was a little unpleasant, but hey, this is the game. Let's go into roll number 6. And we have a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we landed on mystery/thriller. Very nice. Alright, this took absolutely forever to figure out, but I think I finally decided on The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie. This is book number 3 in the Miss Marple series, which is a, well, classic mystery by the absolutely fantastic Agatha Christie. I read the second book in the series, Murder in the Vicarage, in January, and I loved it. This is the first book from the series that I read, and I was trying to find the first book from the series itself. I think something about 13, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So this is what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna borrow it from the library because I saw that they have it actually. And since I'm going anyway, I might as well pick it up. Now it's time, I believe, for roll number 7. And we have a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my! We landed on the missions again. Very nice. This is an unheard of situation where we land twice on the missions in the same game. I am really happy about this, to be honest with you, because once I complete the Fellowship of the Reed, I have a big surprise for all of you. Now, let's see. Well, I guess I'm gonna pick the middle one. Oh my god. Return of the King. Reread the first book you ever loved. What would that be? I'm gonna need some serious time to think about this. Alright, I did a bit of a trip down memory lane, and the first book that I appear to have really loved is Three Jolly Fellows by Anna Raud, which I actually reread last year, I think, or the year before that, and still loved. It's such a funny story about 3 very peculiar guys that travel together in a van and, you know, get into all kinds of adventures. I love this book. It's so cozy. If you have little kids, please give them this book. It's so much fun. It got me so much in love with reading, but since I have reread this book very recently, I don't think it's appropriate to do it yet again. I mean, it's been, I think, less than a year since I reread it. So I decided to go for the second one that I was very much into, and I'm surprised I don't own a copy of this book yet. And that book is Brother Lionhearts by Astrid Lindgren. I remember reading this as a kid and crying and being so much into it. I remember this book being very heavy, but also just lovely. It deals with a little bit of hard topics like death and what happens afterwards, and the love between brothers and family in general. I don't know if it's a thing that's popular abroad, but here in Bulgaria it was a big thing when I was a kid. It was one of the, I think, required books for back in school, and I remember loving it so much and being so touched by it. So I'm gonna reread it again, and oh my god, I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm gonna borrow it from the library again because, as I mentioned, I don't own a copy from it. Alright, my TBR for February is going to include short story masterpieces with a twist ending by various authors, Volume 2, The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams, The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, The Lionheart Brothers by Astrid Lindgren, Castle in the Clouds, if I'm not mistaken, by Diana Wynne Jones, The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie, and whatever else I picked from the library. So this is a very interesting TBR, and actually it's not all I'm gonna read in February, because every single month I participate in the Buzzword Reading Challenge and the Year in LDR Reading Challenge as well. So for the Buzzword Reading Challenge, the prompt for February is positive words, and I raked my brain to find a book that I could read that has a positive word in the title, and I couldn't find any that I own, so I decided to go with The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is a very popular book. At least it was very popular a while back, and I've been wanting to read it for a while now, but now I guess is the time, and I'm gonna borrow the book from the library since I don't own it myself. The only reason I was hesitating to pick this book initially was because I didn't want to start a new series, but when I looked at the other books that I could think of with positive words in their titles, I just wasn't as interested, so I'm gonna read this one. And for the Year in LDR Reading Challenge, there are 2 prompts for February, and you can pick one of those, and I decided to go with go towards and fight an animated gargoyle, and the prompt for that is to read a book with non-human characters. For that, I'm gonna probably shoot myself in the foot, but I really want to continue with this series and finish it, and I'm gonna read Wrath by John Gwynne. I just read Ruin, book number 3 in this quartet, and loved it. And in this book there are some non-human characters. We have a wolven, we have a dog, we have a horse, we have a few others running around, so I'm gonna go with this one. And it's a gigantic one, and I already have a pretty big TBR, but in case I can't get to this one, although I just want to start reading it right now, honestly, I'm gonna chicken out and double up with The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams, because there are non-human characters here as well. This makes quite a bit of books for the month of February, and it's a small month, and it's gonna be a very busy one for me, but I have hopes because I am super excited for like almost 100% of the books on this list, if not 100% of them. I am gonna do my best to finish these books, and I'm filming this a few days before the end of January, and I'm still not done with my January TBR, so this is gonna be an interesting month. If I'm not finished with my January TBR by the end of January, I'm gonna continue it into February. It's gonna be a bit of a mess, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I sure enjoyed filming it. This is my favorite video to film every single month. And once again, if you'd like to play the Lord of the Reeds yourself, you can find the materials in the video description. Mind you, if you are more of a mood reader, or if you don't like to start the month with a set TBR, you can just do one roll at a time. You roll, you pick a book, you finish it, and then you do another roll. That is also an option. It's all up to you to decide what's most convenient and what works best for you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to see my wrap up for January, check out this video. Bye.